Hey guys, as promised, I'm back to discuss the magic that is the lunge. It is a pretty complicated exercise done incorrectly all the time. A lot of people, I always hear, I feel it in my knees, Chris, I feel it in my knees, I feel it in my hips. So we're going to review some of those anatomical positions in the body that we want to be in beforehand, before we even get going. And you might notice that I'm not wearing shoes. Nothing special. A lot of times I have clients ask me, hey Chris, can I take my shoes off today because I'm not feeling it? You see that I'm on a padded surface. Absolutely do not need to work out in sneakers. Some people enjoy the support that it gives the arch, the ankles. Some people just like to be barefoot like a yogi. I am good with either style. So that's why I chose to do today's video barefoot. So talking about the lunge, there's a lot of variations. There's a reverse lunge, a front lunge, a cross lunge, there's a regular lunge, there's walking lunges. So lots of different variations. We're going to try to go over them all today. But fundamentally, let's talk about it down to the basics, the building blocks, the A's and B's and C's of a lunge. So I'm going to just call this a stationary lunge, and I want to be in a split stance. My back heel is popped, okay? So that's kind of uncomfortable for some people, but it's going to work on ankle stabilizing and foot flexibility, so it's a good thing. It may just take some time to get there. From the front, I don't want to be narrow because that makes me really tippy and it puts some weird pressure on the outer edges of my hips. So I like about a hips distance stance on this, okay? Both hip bones point forward, both knees track forward. You don't want to see goofy knees popping in or sending them out. You want them, like we talked about in the squat, to line up with that femur, that shin, and that middle toe area of the leg. So when we get into our stationary lunge from the side, it looks like this. I call it a 90-90. So that means my front and my back knee bend to 90 degrees. Now that's great if I'm flexible enough to get to 90-90, and some people aren't, and it might take some adjusting, and you might need to get there first. You might just be right here to start, and that's phenomenal. I like hands on hips to start. I like arms out to the side, or if you have any kind of balance issues, or you're just not comfortable with a lunge yet, I like a prop. Grab a chair, use a wall, your bed, a couch, and practice your lunge there until you feel really stable, being able to do it away from the chair. So once again, you'll set up that hips distance, knees, hips, everything pointing forward. One last cue is that our shoulders stay over our hips. So different than the squat where we hinged at the waist, in a lunge, we want to remain upright. So you want to keep head, shoulders, hips all in one alignment as you do your lunge. Why? Because if we hinge in a lunge, that's what puts that forward pressure on the knee. And we don't want that. So if you feel a heavy foot, like you feel like all the weight's in the toe wall mound, or you feel pressure on the front of that patella, that knee joint, then you know you're either dropping your chest and shoulders forward or bending again and not really thinking about shifting the shins back. So everything is light toes, shoulders over hips, stomach in to protect, that gentle facet lock, okay? So let's set it up from the side first. Arms out, arms on hips, whatever you choose, and then we go 90-90. Now again, you might only go here. You might just barely bend in and out of that knee and be like, Chris, that's enough for today. Awesome. Work that form. Work on abdominals in, that neutral spine, shoulders back, and you're breathing. Remember the breath movement, right? You want that constant oxygen flow. From the front, hips distance, hip bones forward, knees forward, same thing. It's that 90-90 lunge, okay? Same as with squats. You can do 10 reps to start each leg. Give it a little break. Remember some stretches that we've talked about, right? Some different things you can do to sort of release the tension in the hips, the thighs, and those hamstrings. Those are the big muscles we're working in our lunge. It's actually one of the few exercises that works every single muscle in the lower half back, including that low leg and foot, because of our popped back leg. Popped meaning up on that heel. So that's your stationary lunge, right? You're just holding, you've got your position, you're anatomically set up for success, and you do some repetitions. Just like with that squat, we can grab a set of dumbbells and maybe just advance it really simply that way by holding on to a little extra weight. Or we go all the way back and we say, nope, today I'm using a chair, okay? So those are the basics, the building blocks of a lunge. Now, how many variations are there? So many variations, right? You can play with lunges all day long. I'm sure you've seen a million different variations on different YouTube videos, different workout classes. One of my favorites is a simple reverse lunge, right? So hands on hips, you're gonna step back to that same hips distance, that same alignment, and you're gonna drop your knee, and then you're just gonna step back to your front foot. You're gonna alternate, or you don't have to. You can do all 10 on one leg to kind of keep those neurological pathways focused on one leg, or you can alternate between legs. So you're already seeing that there's a wide variety of ways to do this one exercise that is so fundamentally strong for the lower half. So again, we can step back. Now if you see it from the side, I want you to notice once again that I get somewhat to my 90-90 depending on my flexibility, but that my shoulders and my upper body remain mounted over my hip girdle. Then I step back forward and I switch. I am not forward in my essence. I've got my shins shifted and I'm right over the center of my body. And then again, you're just alternating or doing 10 reps on one side, 10 reps on another. Maybe you do 1 full minute of alternating those legs. So already feel the heat in those thighs, a little bit in the hips. That's awesome. Again, we're trying to build some of that big muscle group in our bodies. Now, one of the more difficult lunges to do is the front lunge, right? Because in that front lunge, there's forward momentum. And you can see already my body wants to shift forward and my weight wants to come over the knee and into that toe ball mound. So what we have to do is put the brakes on. So you have to really plant that front foot and then drop straight down. And then you have to push back. So harder, right? Because it's not as natural of a movement within the body. So we come forward, we put the brakes on, we stop so that we don't have that forward momentum, we don't put pressure in the front of the knee, we drop down to the availability that we have, maybe it's 90-90, and then we push off the front foot to come to the back foot. That's what makes it harder. This is one where you might want to do one leg and really get the focus of it first, right? My knees are tracking. Maybe you do 10 reps, getting used to pushing back the body weight fundamentally so that we're in alignment and we're not adding any excess strain or pressure on the knee joint in general, or the foot and ankle. And you see I'm doing this barefoot. Maybe you want to have sneakers on for a little more stability. Either way, it totally works. So again, we have that stationary lunge, which is just set up, hips distance, nice line up, shoulders over hips. We have that reverse lunge where we step back, right? Where we go backwards and then come back. It's a little tiny bit easier. Then we have the front lunge where we have to put on the brakes because otherwise our forward momentum will bring us into that front knee. What I always tell my clients is if you feel it in your knee, something's not right. So you have to move, tweak, adjust. Don't go as deep. Stretch for a second before you do the exercise, but always listen to your body because it is speaking to you constantly and trying to keep you balanced first of all, but out of injury, out of pain. So then, with that all said, we can do the walking lunge. So I'm going to just come out of the camera, and then you're going to see me do that front lunge, which is the hard one, and step through to keep hitting my lunge, right? Now that's going to be the hardest that we've done so far today because we're forward momentum and we're balancing as we step through to the other leg. Now, same thing. Start small. Step into it. Don't go so deep. Maybe touch first and then step through to the next one and touch and then step through. So when you're working at your level that's super comfortable for you mentally and physically, the exercise will feel right. If you push too far too fast and you start doing a lunge and you're all over and your knees are buckling in and your chest is dropping, you're going to hurt the next day and you're going to be like, hey Chris, your lunges suck. Well, maybe, but maybe the form wasn't proper, or maybe we took too big a step before we were ready fundamentally to come to that very first lunge and really getting into that exercise. Now there's lots of other variations as far as we can do cross squats and we can do side lunges. It all comes down to form and function, which you're going to hear me say over and over again. I don't want to be a broken record, but I kind of want to be, because it's so important that the stomach is engaged. We have that facet lock, that neutral spine. We're mentally aware. We're paying attention to the signals in our body, and that's what makes a perfect exercise class or just your own home exercise plan. Just like squats, you can change repetition, you can change time, make sure what you do on one side, you do on the other. Then maybe go back to some of the previous videos. Maybe you want to foam roll that lower half, it's feeling a little tight. Maybe you want that figure 4 stretch that we did. I'm going to come out with a whole new stretch class tomorrow with some of my favorite stretches for your everyday ailments and pains and aches that we have in the body. You guys, Tuesday is awesome. I'm so glad we got some of these big exercises down, because now you can once again build on that and really start creating a fun exercise routine at the gym, at home, wherever you can do it, in your office, in your hotel room. It doesn't take much space. You guys, Kristen Calvert here in Central Florida. Hope to see you guys again real soon. Take care of your body and be well.